Today it's a very special episode because we're going to be doing an Aeropress conversion theory, recipe, what you want to call it, is just the ability to take a championship recipe and reduce it. Often these days they call for a lot of coffee, 30-35 grams plus sometimes, which can be just a bit too much for some people if they've only got a bit left. So we thought, what if you could reduce that? What if you could halve it and do it at 15 grams? Because 15 grams, that's a reasonable amount of coffee. That's usually the amount that people use. So first we'll do the championship recipe, and I'll talk you a little bit through that. I'm not going to be amazing at it because I'm not a champion, and it is rather complicated, but I'll explain why when you try to halve it, you have to kind of do things a little bit different. It's not as simple as just halving everything. That won't work. In fact, you keep most things the same. The winning recipe we've chosen is last year's, the latest one. So that's Wendelien van Bunnik from the Netherlands. So let's jump straight in and see how we do the first version, which is the championship recipe. You can see it's a lot of coffee. It's an absolutely incredible coffee. I feel like stopping and just talking about the coffee now, but I can't. I've got to do the next one, so we're just resetting the Aeropress, then we'll go again. Now, how do we adjust things for the 15 grams? Like I said, we don't just halve everything. It isn't as simple as that. And the brew ratio?
7.3.
7.3 to 1. So that's what matters, is keeping the right ratio. So I believe what happens is the grind setting. We're going to stick to the same amount of waters that we poured in the first time because you get so little when you actually extract it that is better off adjusting grind setting and then the bypass. So to explain, I'm now going to only adjust the grind setting and then pretty much stick to the same recipe, but with half the amount of coffee. And hopefully at a medium grind, not a coarse grind, everything should happen very similar. So now you want to do the recipe, but you don't have 30 grams of coffee, only 15. This is what we figured out, is that it's not a straight line. If you try to do things on the straight line, you're going to end up with the wrong extraction. The grind size we're going to go for is medium. And now we put 15 grams in on the medium grind setting. Start the time. In goes 100. Stir 20 times. Put the cap on. That's it. Now it's the bypass again, so I put it back on the scales. 50 ml of water. That's 50. So this is the great thing when you halve the recipe, is that because there was bypass already on the first version, you can just control it from the get-go. So I'm only going to add a little bit of water each time. I don't want to go past that magical mark of just right. It's very hard to make it stronger again. Practically impossible actually without starting again. So the best thing to do is to just be adding water a little bit at a time so you reach that just right place. Yeah. Think a bit more water, we're there. We're there. That's it. I'm going to pour now. Right, the championship recipe. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's just so gentle, so sweet. I don't know when I've started drinking it, it's so gentle. Amazing.
Yeah, it's floaty.
It's so floaty. Now the halved version.
Okay.
Great cup of coffee. Very, very similar. There are differences. It is slightly different.
More acidity.
More acidity, less of the fudge. The fudge isn't the sort of dominant, sweet, smooth flavor. The difference is what I want to highlight, in that when I was talking to Wendelien about this recipe and a few other champions, because I did some research to see what they would do, And none of them really had a suggestion to halve the recipe because they just simply didn't want to. Their winning recipe, they said, was the way it should be made. So do expect differences. And what you're going to be doing when you halve the recipe is sort of getting an approximation, a replication of what the champion did at their recipe, but it will never really be the same. The important thing is that you use the bypass to taste and test and never really go past the just right point. So that's how I think it's best to halve a champion's recipe. Grind size reduction, bypass reduction at the end, but everything at the beginning and the middle, I believe, should stay the same. And that way you'll get to enjoy a champion's recipe on half the amount of coffee. There you go.